Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve, and yes, today we are back in Dark Souls Re-Remastered. Finally, sorry for the delay. As I'm sure you guys have probably guessed, I got a little burnt out on Dark Souls 1 since I had been working on it for I'm not even sure how long straight. I mean, I think I'm going on like 2,000 hours in Dark Souls Remastered. So I've put a lot of work into it, and I kind of just burnt out, and I had to start working on other things. And I had made attempts to work on Dark Souls Remastered like 4 times, and then I lost the progress because I was an idiot multiple times, and so I would kind of get in my head about it, and I would just But here we are, and one quick thing that I fixed was kind of the first thing. I forgot I fixed it before, but I lost that progress, so I remembered my own fix, which is the eyeballs in Re-Remastered were kind of broken, right? Not kind of broken, they were too dark. They were essentially just black eyeballs completely. No pupils, nothing, just all black. Very demonic looking. And this is likely due to a shader change from DSR Shader Overhaul, which got bundled into this mod like early last year at some point. And it seemed to cause that. So, unfortunately, I don't know shader programming, so I fixed it in a different way. And I'll show you. So, the eyeball, what I did is I actually went to MTD Editor, which is a program that can modify the material files for FromSoft games. And Dark Souls Remastered has a material file called mtd.mtdbnd.dcx, but essentially it's just a file that has a bunch of material settings here for each different type of surface, be it water, stone, general stuff, sky, lava, clouds. It basically tells the engine, here's how you should handle this. And you'll see it has like specular power, diffuse power, lighting type, blend mode. Is it water? Is it a water wave? Is it, yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes in here, and how much the shadow power is. Material workflow has to do with like PBR or not PBRs. I haven't, I actually had to modify that in Undead Asylum for an update a long time ago that I don't think ended up going live. I could be wrong, but my brain is mashed potatoes. So basically, if you go in here, you can actually find the eyeball setting under PS, PS_I. And basically what I did is I boosted the diffuse map color power. It was originally at 0.6, and so I boosted it first to 2, and then it was too bright, and I made it 1.5, and then, what do you know? Sorry for the music cutting in and out. That's just apparently how Dark Souls Remastered works. If you go outside of the window, it says no. Or is that how all games work? I don't know anything anymore. Yeah, so eyeballs are fixed. That's cool. I'm going to start working more on Dark Souls Re-Remastered. So that was the first thing. So let's make a new character. Oh yeah, I forgot you had to keyboard it. Okay, let's do... I also set all of the specular maps for armor back to their defaults. Actually, the albedo textures as well, because I wasn't happy with the armor updates that I had made. And I don't think they ended up looking that good. You may remember videos from last year, I think, where I was kind of going through each armor. I'll basically have to go through the armor again, which is fine, and port over the Prepare to Die edition textures again. It's a whole thing. I'll have to do it again, but luckily Dark Souls 1 doesn't have a ton of armor. There's not like 5,000 different armor pieces in Dark Souls Remastered. So let's go average, commoner, black, okay, boom, done. I think the intro cutscene works well enough. Not the story one, but the actual, this cutscene. If I remember correctly, because they're handled separately with their own lighting IDs. You love the yes indeed. Okay, so let's wake up. Okay, alright. So, for Northern Undead Asylum, I basically I had to get my inspiration back for Dark Souls 1, and I basically am going through each area and kind of redoing the visuals from, not from scratch, but pretty close. And it's a really strange method. Now, I will remind you that I did material changes down here so that you could use parallax occlusion mapping on these walls. And so you'll notice these bricks stick out. That's something I already did, but ooh, now here you can see there is light bleeding through the outside. That I'm gonna have to check out, because you can see there's light hitting this wall from outside of here. So sometimes it's the... actually, let's go check that out real quick. Okay, so I have Smithbox open, which is my program, or not my program, but a program made by very talented people as a successor to DS Map Studio. And that's how you can edit the maps and params and all kinds of cool things. So let's load up Northern Undead Asylum. And let's see what we got. Because I'm wondering if the back face culling is still turned on for that certain thing. So here you'll see Northern Undead Asylum. And let's fly in here. And here we go. So here's the start of the game. And the light is bleeding through right here. So the first culprit is generally, is it a backface culling issue? Where basically, like here you can see the way that Smithbox renders it. There is no backface culling happening, but in the game, it basically is just not going to render this side on the outside because the player can't see it. So in the game's mind, they go, well, we shouldn't render that, save a little bit of performance, which is understandable. But I can turn that off because for dynamic shadow casting, when there is shadow casting in general, that becomes an issue. Where with baked lighting, well, you're not casting any shadows. Or if you are, you're casting like the player shadow and that's it. Or casting shadow for a barrel. But here I'm casting shadows for everything. And so that becomes an issue that you didn't have to deal with beforehand. So let's find the model name, which is M0015B1. And so next we need to go into our Dark Souls Remastered folder. Go into map, and Northern Undead Asylum is 1801. So we're going to go into 1801, and then it's 15, which is right here. Let's open it up in Fiverr Editor 2.4, and let's see what we got. Okay, so it looks like it's not a backface culling issue, because you can see the back faces here are not being culled. Although I will show you what it looks like if they were. So let's toggle it. And see, yeah, when the backface culling is enabled, you could basically go, you can see through this side. But then, of course, on the inside, it still works. So that does not work for dynamic shadow casting. But that is interesting. That is interesting. That is not the problem. Sorry for the Windows notification sound, which is insanely loud, by the way. I got to turn that off. I had a power outage for an entire day, and then the next day, my NVMe drive died. I made a YouTube post about it, but really annoying. So I had to reinstall Windows on another drive. I was able to save any mod progress, so that is cash money. But I had to reinstall Windows completely, so that is a gigantic bummer. Now, the other thing that I've been doing is the mesh shading. I basically made a ton of mistakes when I was modifying the geometry for the game. I basically would pull them into Blender and, would use smooth mesh shading, which does work on, a number of surfaces, but unfortunately I screwed up the mesh shading on quite a number of things, basically. And I would do it in like a whole map piece, I'd be like, boom, that's going to be smooth. But there's quite a few surfaces that should not be smooth, right? And that was my screw up. So you'll see like these seams. Now in game, it's not as noticeable, but okay, so we're going to move past that for now. That could be a separate issue. Well, actually, hold on one second. If we go back to, yeah, I forgot in Windows 10 they cut off how many things you can see if you're using too many of them. Okay, so then my trick that you can use for this map is I have a specific map piece loaded that's M9999, and basically there's a really cool thing you can do where if I need to shadow something or make sure it's shadowed, even if it's beyond like a backface culling issue, I can copy this and you can set it to be a shadow only. So this will not be visible in game, but the shadow cast will be visible. So sometimes you'll use it for things that inexplicably do not have the shadow casting working. So basically we need to place it right over here as a test to see if that's potentially the issue. So let's duplicate it with Control D. We're going to move it. You'll notice the origin point is not near where the controls are for it. That's another world origin problem. But luckily it's close enough that I can just deal essentially. Nope, wrong way. Right way. Okay. Now you'll notice there is a hole in it. So its origin was actually from on top of the player starting cell. It basically it's a cutout for the hole that the light comes through, which is actually normally covered by the mountain, but the mountain isn't rendered in when you're in your player cell. It's pretty funny. And so we need to put it on top of this. Let's see, so let's angle it. All right. Okay, let's fly down. Let's angle it like that. Now there's a hole in the top, so usually it's really annoying. I should have just fixed this and plugged the hole in Blender because it would have been really easy, but I'm a dumbass, and sometimes I just will not do the thing that I should do that would be easy to fix it, but I just do not. I do not do it. So what I've done in the meantime is I'll usually just duplicate it and then cover the hole. It's really outrageously stupid. So Northern Undead Asylum, we have done that. Here is my project folder. And then let's go back to Dark Souls Remastered, which is unpacked by default. There is no unpacking you have to do, which is lovely. So you can literally just dump in your map changes by copying over the map folder, which includes inside of there, it's Map Studio. And then inside the Map Studio is the MSB files. The MSB files are the ones that control what is rendered, when it is rendered, what lighting ID does it use, what lantern ID, all of those are set in the MSB. Okay, I already forgot if I copied it, so I'm just going to copy it again in case I didn't copy it. That's how bad my memory is. So the game was still running, and let's see if that helped. It may not have. It did not help. That might be a mesh shading issue. Interesting. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, it's kind of goofed up down here a little bit. There's a couple like light leaks that I have to fix. Now I am pretty proud of these like torches because I ended up moving the point light outside of the window where the fire actually is. Originally the point light was actually inside of here, and so it would have this really weird illumination around the edge here. And so I moved it out so the illumination is more natural and kind of, well, maybe it's not as realistic, but to me it looks better. So I'm going to go with that. Alright, so let's go up. here. This ladder texture I still need to fix at some point, because I feel like I've touched it, but it doesn't look great. Okay, so here we have the courtyard. I actually adjusted the shadow X and Y coordinates because there was this really weird patch right over here that was being lit, because by default they have the sun like very much up in the sky up top. And so the angle is a little strange, but I modified it just barely. So then this patch of like light goes away, and now it's just lighting the front. So still very similar. Not only that, this grass that we have here, which I've covered in a previous video, was from a test map that never saw the light of day. It was just for boss testing for FromSoft. And I stole this grass mesh. And yeah, I placed it here. Now the grass doesn't move because it doesn't have a vertex shader, but such is life. But I went to the texture itself and actually lit it up in Photoshop because it was too dark. And so that's actually something I'm taking from my Dark Souls 2 work that I hadn't really done in Dark Souls 1 that much. I hadn't really messed with the albedo textures much, other than swapping them in from the Prepare to Die edition, right? And so now I'm starting to light them or lower their values a little bit based on the spec map. So let's go kill this guy. Also, the cool thing with the shadowing is that now you get the shadow hitting the door here, right in the middle. Normally this door is actually lit separately, and it actually doesn't really, by default, because it's an object, the door actually, they put it on a separate lighting layer. So of course I made sure it's on the same layer. So now the shadow, which of course before in this map they didn't have dynamic shadow casting except for objects, so I made it on the whole world. I also had to do something really goofy because there was an issue that I hadn't noticed, where whenever you step inside here, it basically stopped rendering the top part here. Well, it stopped rendering. Let me show you in Soulstruct. So, or not Soulstruct, Smithbox. So basically in here, and here's how I investigated it. So basically I was like, okay, so here, and then you step into a different collision, and that's when it renders new things or stops rendering certain things based upon what FromSoft had set up with their draw groups, right? And so I was like, wait, so what's not being rendered? And that's when you notice the top here is this map piece, which if you delete it, you'll notice that the building is still has a ceiling, but this is like the exterior ceiling, and then like this little exterior area. But basically they would stop rendering that so that the skylighting could come in, right? Now, of course, this is not an issue with baked lighting, once again, because baked lighting, it's not based on the actual like geometry, it's just pasted on, right? That's a stupid way of describing it, but essentially it's painted on. So here, because I'm doing dynamic shadow casting, I actually had to cut a hole in this top part so that the transition between when it stops rendering and when it is rendering, which is when you're on the stairs here, looks the same. And there's the same amount of light that's actually coming in from the sky. So I've made it more difficult for myself because of the dynamic shadow casting. If it was just all baked, I could just keep the baked lighting, but I like the dynamic shadows, and specifically because the shader changes that Altamore allowed me to roll into this mod last year included higher shadow resolution as well. So I always want to use that when I can. And yeah, so we hop in here, and you can see Big Dog up here. Okay, let's run this way. And I actually don't have anything on reshade turned on right now. I have everything turned off, just to show here's what the game looks like without reshade. It's the only reshade I had done was like, sometimes it was MXAO. I've updated the reshade a lot for Dark Souls Re-Remastered, and then taken things away. It's been a hard to... Okay, you preload... He might be the quickest arrow shooter of all time. Let's put on our shield. Okay, you go that way, that's fine. Give me my bandit knife. Okay. I have talked a little bit too much in Northern Undead Asylum, shocker. And now we need to get to Firelink Shrine, because I do have changes in Firelink Shrine as well, and I have changes in Undead Burg, fixes, primarily, but also some changes. But I think, yeah, so that's true, I haven't talked about how I'm doing the visuals, because essentially for Dark Souls Remastered, or Re-Remastered I should say, because I've been working on Dark Souls 2 so much, I've started to lose sense of what looks good for Dark Souls Remastered, because it's obviously lit very differently, and even more so when using DS2 lighting engine and creating that preset that I'm working on, right? They handle things so differently that it's hard to go in between the two of them, and the sort of the reduced functionality I have in Dark Souls Remastered. But I found a really strange method that works for me, and so what I do is I go into Smithbox, and basically I remembered from the unmodded Dark Souls Remastered that Anor Londo, I felt they did a pretty good job in Dark Souls Remastered. Anor Londo looks really good. That's not one of the issues with Prepare to Die Edition versus Remastered. I think Anor Londo actually looks quite good in Remastered. And so what I basically do, because I was like, okay, that's a good starting point. So let me steal all of that lighting information. Let me steal, so basically it's in the M15 light bank, light scattering, fog bank, shadow bank, tone map, tone correct. Basically you steal all of this. And so for Anor Londo it's like 20 for the IDs, and then it uses 10 on certain things. And then the player lighting. So basically I steal all of that. And I open up two Smithbox windows, and I basically rob all of this information, which each lighting ID, you'll notice it has light 0, light 1, light 2, which now I understand more what these are. Also, Smithbox has updated the descriptions for each, and so that actually helps, where it calls it light 1, light 2 before it didn't say that. And now I better understand the light 0 and then the light 1 can be used for like indirect lighting. So I've been messing with the actual like angles on that for the first time. And that's been interesting. Ooh, I think that's actually incorrect. Yeah. So basically, anyway, I steal all of this. You have the ambient light, you have the lower hemisphere, upper hemisphere, all of this stuff. And I was like, okay, let me just rob all of that. And I then plug it into, and here it was M18. Realistically, what I actually did is I did this for Undead Burg first, and then I stole, and I configured it after that. Because basically what you do is I stole all those settings, and then I log in the game, and I go, ooh, okay, so here's where it needs to be less colorful. And I then go into tone correct, and I go, oh, okay, so here's our saturation, is it 0.85? Like before it would be at 1, and I would turn it down to 0.85, so therefore 85%. And that just brings down the saturation a little bit, or I can boost the contrast with the brightness of a specific RGB value. Or you go into the light bank itself, and then you can start messing with the lower hemisphere, upper hemisphere to sort of add a little bit of visibility, or the overall, the biggest thing you can do in here is sort of the ambient light alpha, and then handling the specular. Specular is a big thing I'm trying to fix, essentially, in Dark Souls Remastered, because it has that like blue tint in Undead Burg specular at least. But that's something I'm still looking at. The cube map situation is a mess in Dark Souls Remastered. I have yet to master the cube maps and how they like function. And anyway, let's get to Firelink Shrine. We need to get to Firelink Shrine. I keep getting sidetracked with other like shit. So let's speed run the tut. Okay, let's open that. Let's go talk to Oscar, the homeboy.
Regrettably.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. That's sad. You love to see it. It's crazy how many times I've done this tutorial, and I'm still, like, not tired of it. I love this tutorial. I think it's probably my favorite in the series. This is just a fantastic tutorial area. Okay, alright. Oh, I don't know about that. I think that was a parry. Oh, he doesn't like me. Nice. So I still have the really strong depth of field, which I also applied to the sky itself, where before the sky was not part of the depth of field, and that was sort of an oversight by me, but I also modified the texture for the distant mountains to make it blend in a little bit more, but I'm still trying to blend the illumination we have in the actual like buildings here versus the sky and how bright it is and the bloom. So that's sort of still, it's, oh, we have a shadow issue. Well, that's new. Okay, well, oh, is that after my little fix I made? Oh. So you can tell it looks like it's coming from there. Oh, that's weird. Okay, hold on. Hold on, we gotta go back to Smithbox. What did I miss? Okay, so this... What am I not doing? Okay, so we have... So clearly, yeah, the shadow's being cast from up here. It's hitting the top of this. Yeah, is it a backface culling issue? I think I have, yeah. Oh no, I have 15. So let me look at M0045. Let's do that real quick. It's going to be kind of a hodgepodge video. This is kind of the behind the scenes of what the work is. But I know you guys like watching the behind the scenes. Sadly, the Dark Souls 2 modding, I think it's just not as interesting, realistically. Ooh, it's a backface calling issue. Got it. Got it. You love when it's that easy. So you can see here, all of this is having their back faces cold. Okay, well that makes it fantastically easy. So basically, we're going to select that, and we're going to fix the shit out of that. So let's fix that. That's now not being cold. No, not that. Okay. Nope, already did that. Ah, there we go. Boom. Yeah, so that was an issue that was not happening prior, because before I cut the hole in the top of this mesh. So it was basically keeping that from happening. And then I cut a hole in the mesh, and well, it didn't like that. So yeah, there we go. Now let's see, am I missing? Yeah, okay, I got to make sure to do these arches as well. Nope, that's the fence. Nope. Nope. Ah. Okay, sorry for the notification sound. I'm not going to go search to fix that at the exact moment. Okay, just making sure that also works. Okay, just kind of rotate it around. Ah, found another one. Nope, not that. Not that. Nope. 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 Oh, I already passed it. Nope. Ooh, actually. Oh, actually, yes. Oops. Okay, I did it twice. That was not the goal. There we go. Boom. Now, sometimes undoing the backface culling will cause issues, where you'll see like a flicker. It was not meant to be turned off in certain cases. But, you know, those are... I cross that bridge when I get there, essentially. So let's save it. Boom. We have now saved it. So now it should be fixed, theoretically. And it's fixed. We are now getting correct shadow casting from that mesh. And it's no longer looking broken. Let's go kill the Asylum Demon. Let me turn... You know what? I don't even need my HUD turned on. One thing I love is, and I do this for every time I'm in here, there's some people that don't know that he... if you wait here long enough, homie will try to kill you. It's fantastic. Okay, bud. Let's get a little bit of bleed. You just gotta stay up in the gooch. Whew. Yeah, that was close. He doesn't even know what's going on back there. Oh. Oh. Uh-oh. I seem to have broken a specific object here. Alright. Well, that's new. I believe this is when I was modifying the textures a little bit. I think I accidentally saved one as the wrong texture compression. Oh, that's after he crushed that. Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's go look at that. That's object 8700, because it is destructible, although commonly it does not get destroyed, actually, because most people will just jump off or do the drop attack on them, right? Okay, let's look at 8700. I basically need to go look at the texture it uses to then find which one I screwed up. Oh, I actually had 8700 opened recently. No, not recently. I copied these over from my other hard drive, so this could have been months ago. So 8700, let's go into the Fiverr model itself, and here is specifically the destroyed one, which is the _1. They have different ones for it being destroyed or not. And then in here they show all of the pieces, the rubble merged into one, but like that's not how it displays in game. Okay, so let's viewer highlights. I believe it's probably this. Maybe. Okay, it's wall M19B wall 07. Okay, so let's open up a new file explorer. God, I've recorded for 30 minutes. This is probably what people want to see. Should I, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, should I just mod and then like record it and upload those? Because I know a lot of people would just say, well, why not just stream it? And yeah, I don't know. There's something different about being streamed while you're modding. I don't know. I second guess myself a little bit more because I don't know, I'm having eyeballs on me as I'm talking, and it's hard to multitask. Like, I guess I found it to be very inefficient. I don't get a lot of work done, and so that I think has been my main reason for not doing it. So wall 07. Okay, let's open up this in Notepad. No, that is... Okay. So you can see in here, in the XML file, you'll see it has 38 for the format. That was changed by me at some point in the past. 38 denotes that it should be a BC7 texture compression texture. And if it said 1 or 0, that means BC1, which is what, by default, Dark Souls Remastered uses. Let's open up Photoshop here. And I'm trying to remember why it would be red like that. Ooh, actually, I have a good... Okay, I actually have a lead on that. Hold on. Photoshop, chill out. Yeah, open up all my other files. So let's open up 07 spec map. I think that might be what's going on here. So let's witchy BND this spec map, which is _S, naturally. Okay, and let's look at... Okay, it's saved as 0. Oh, that's... I'm pretty sure that's why. A19 M4 stone. I have an idea. I believe it's probably... Let's see. This might not work at all. Actually, no. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let me click on something else here for a second. So M200. Let's open up M200. Or no, actually 45 will work just fine because I need to see. Ah, that is the problem. So I had converted Northern Undead Asylum over to the standard material setup that it uses for the rest of the game, excluding Duke's Archives and Northern Undead Asylum. They basically went to they had like a backup material setup, which was, you'll see the _spec. That was the like non-material workflow. And so basically we can switch this over to MDB. So D for diffuse, B for bump, S for spec map. And yes, _spec is also confusing in that way, but there's a bunch of stuff. So, and these are blend textures, these two ones in the middle here, because you can tell they're using two sets of textures for, albedo spec normal, albedo spec normal, and they even have a light map, but I have that disabled. So for the blend ones, we want to use the, add the bracket M for multiple. As straightforward as that. Oop, not that. Okay, I always forget you don't want to do capital on that. Okay, so then MDB, MDB. So this should fix the broken one, I believe. Okay, so I saved that. I guess while we're here, let's open up the original before it gets busted. Ah, so that's what happened. You can tell the original here had the MDB. It had the setup that I fixed, but I forgot to do that for the broken one. And the only reason why I didn't see the broken one is I just hadn't had it broken in game after doing that. I totally overlooked that. So then now that we have saved that, let's witchy BND that. So now the 8700, which is used in this map, I believe should fix the red. Maybe. We still need to land in Firelink Shrine. Boom. Actually, well, funny thing is it despawned completely. But, well, actually, no, it didn't despawn. There is a weird thing with reloading the game. It has the break object system is very funky. And I'm assuming it's just because I'm the modder, even though I'm not messing with the break object files, like, at all. It's weird. They do that, and then they'll go back on the next, like if you teleport out and come back, they'll be fine. So yeah, use the big pilgrim key. You love to see it. Okay. Let's go this way. We got a little shadows cast here. I had to also modify the player lantern. It was a little too bright in this area. Okay. The character is still too dark. I need to update the params for the cutscene. because that I have not done yet. Yes, thank you. Okay, Firelink Shrine, I won't go, oh yeah, so this I need to fix. This I'm aware of, the little, that's basically loading in an object from Undead Burg early, which is actually the interior of this tunnel. What's more annoying though is they actually already have an interior of the tunnel from Firelink Shrine, and that's where it looks fine. So the draw groups here don't render that in until you step here, and then it renders in the one that is on a separate lighting layer from Undead Burg. It's a whole thing, so I gotta fix that. I also modified the spec map for the grass and the dirt texture here to actually have a little bit of specularity, because I had not really done anything with the spec maps in this game. I mean, I on and off I had, but I had not really learned how they function. And to be fair, I still don't 100%. I have learned that the specular is happening in the green channel, because here I have my RGB channels, and the red presumably is roughness. At least that's what trivia was positing, right? And then I've learned that for some of the textures that had over-the-top specular that looked sort of strange, I could basically black out the green and blue channels. And then if you actually go into like levels adjustment, you can see the texture here, of course, changing color based upon the channels that we're messing with. And so normally your spec maps are all going to look red. That's the way they look in Dark Souls Remastered. But as you mess with the green channel, that's where you can actually, and that's why you'll see there's like little specks here. So I've been testing this, where basically I can pull the red channel, pop it into the green channel, invert it, and then that obviously boosts the specularity, but then I usually darken it to whatever degree that I want the details to still stand out. And so I've been playing around with that. That's sort of my next. I'm kind of going around fixing spec maps, or boosting specularity, or clamping down on specularity. One thing I have not figured out in Dark Souls Remastered, at least, is these textures have spec maps, and you would expect wherever the light is coming from, because here my shadow's coming from over here, which would make sense with the actual light coming through the tree. At least that's where those light shafts are placed. And you would expect there to be a specular response from this surface here, but there's not. And I'm learning that the way they handle speculars is just very, I mean, I wouldn't say odd, but like, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out how to enable that. The other thing I was doing is understanding how the water material settings function, and basically learning for myself how Stade had made that MTD mod back in like 2018 of like turning the water here to be reflective. I learned how to do that basically by looking at the other MTDs for other areas, and you can basically turn on the reflections, where before this area was not fully reflecting. But that's something that was already in the mod. It's just me, I guess, relearning how to do it. And then I fixed in the distance here, there was actually Z fighting between these different meshes, and you could see this giant flicker that was like right over here. So I fixed that, which was great. And I'm not final on Firelink Shrine visuals, but I like that you can see the shadows, and even from like the tree limbs and whatnot. Very nice. We can head down here. Here's our sad guy. What's up, big dog? Really just got your crotch hanging out, just so you know. Just so you know. Now, next on my list, well, I wouldn't say next on my list, but on my list in general, is I want to take what I've learned from placing grass in Dark Souls 2 and apply it here. Now, of course, in Dark Souls Remastered, it's much more difficult because I don't have DS2 lighting engine. There is no DS1 lighting engine yet, although he has talked about it. The creator of DS2 lighting engine, he has talked about it, and he has already looked at the shaders for DS1. So, like, he already has something in mind for what he would do. But if he does that, oh my god, that's going to be amazing. My DS1 mod will be taken to a new level. But basically right now I'm doing as much as I can with the controls that I have, which are admittedly a lot, but they're not like shader related. Now inside here, this is actually something I fixed, I think earlier this year, but I don't think I ever really talked about it. So basically this interior tunnel is the transition point between Firelink Shrine and Undead Burg, right? And it turns out that FromSoft had doubled up on this tunnel. And so as you would be walking, like if you load up the base game or the unmodded game, if you walk through this tunnel, now it's possible I have my head up my ass and I'm completely forgetting that I screwed this up at some point and it was doubled up, but I believe in the unmodded game, if you go in here, it's not very noticeable. But you'll see that there's actually two tunnels pasted on top of each other, and they're just barely not aligned. And so anyway, I fixed that, and so now it looks normal. And you can actually really appreciate the parallax occlusion mapping that has been, you know, enabled on these bricks here, because it's actually a totally flat surface when you tilt the camera right toward it. But even here, you can see it's still trying to create shadows for the parallax. But I think it actually looks really good. Here, I need to fix whatever lighting ID I'm using. It transitions over to the correct one right here. But here, it's kind of, I think it's my player lantern that's busted as well. So, oops. Whoopsie. So let's see how Undead Burg looks. Because Undead Burg is the one I've had the most difficulty getting it to look in a way that I'm happy with. It's been the most difficult. There's so many things at play, and visibility. Like this flickering in the distance, don't know what that is yet. Don't know what that is yet. Depth of field, I'm still kind of playing around with. Right now, it's a pretty strong effect, but I actually really like that. I know many people will not. But I've had more luck with the depth of field in Dark Souls Remastered than I have in Dark Souls 2, which is down to DS2 lighting engine, actually, how it does depth of field. And by default, in the unmodded game, it's like a static depth of field. So here you can see one issue I have with the shaders the way they are now, and presumably can't be fixed until I either learn how to program shaders, the DX11 shaders, because essentially it's the specular. You'll see the specular effect in a shadowed area. So that is something that can be fixed in the shaders, where basically if this is shadowed, it's not going to have this specular response, which looks vastly more correct if that were the case. So part of that is just how the engine functions, and I'd have to modify the shaders to stop them from doing that. But I can certainly try to lessen the specular, or make it less overt, like that texture was. Oh yeah, you know, I always forget that the dragon does this, because I'm in this area so often. Oh, the other thing, I need to fix quite a bit with Undead Burg, actually. Like the distant Valley of Drakes down there, I think does not look very good. And that's because the fake one that they were using was awful. But once again, we have to remember 720p, 720p, 30 FPS. That's what they designed that stuff around. And my replacement is not very good. Now, of course, I still have Firelink Shrine viewable in this distance. That was probably something I'm most proud of in my mod. That's an idea that I really, really enjoy. Yeah, so the spec map on this, let's go look at the spec map really quick. We can modify this because it's like way over the top. Dude, you gotta settle down, big dog. Like employee of the month over here. Oh, I forgot to turn on DSR gadget so I can actually not be hit. But that's fine. Okay, big dog. Alright, so we should be able to check out the spec map for this floor. So let's log out. And if I remember correctly, I think I know what it's called without looking up the actual object itself. I think it's in floor block just by itself. Yes, nailed it. Nailed it. So it's M10 floor block S. So let's open this up with Photoshop. Oh, this is in the blue channel. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. I'm not used to it being in the blue channel. Well, let's crush the blue channel. And let's crush... Oh, that was already crushed, but... Okay, so if we do that, let's say we crush it. Save it as BC1. Boom. And then let's see if we can... and that's just the first step, because I don't actually want to get rid of all the specular, but I like to bring it back to default here. Okay, so I repacked the textures really quickly. I didn't explain any of that, but I've done it like 5 bajillion times on the channel, so like, don't worry about it. Yeah, so there you go. So now the specular is gone, but the blood still has specular, which is cool. So I basically need to dial in every single surface in the game with the spec map. First, I want to get the area draw params, or not draw, well, draw params, yes, that is what it's called. I'm getting confused between all the different games I work on. So I'm going to try it again where I take the red channel, put it into the green channel, invert it, and then from here we'll actually... What if we try... Let's try 50. And then let's save that. Do the thing that we did again, which is save the floor block S. There we go. Save M10-0001. Okay. Let's see if we get a little bit of specular back. Just a little bit. Probably a lot. I probably did it overboard, but we'll see. Oh, that's interesting looking. That's a little too much. That's definitely a little too much. Okay. So that's red, that's green. That makes it brighter, so we definitely want to go down even more. Okay, if we go 200 now. Nice. I sometimes do that when I'm modding on my own. I'll go, nice. And the cats will respond. The cats understand what's going on. Okay, so let's do that. Oh yeah, and then I gotta talk about the last thing before I end the video. It's gonna be just like an hour-long video of me doing stuff. Interesting. Yeah, it's still a little too specular. It's better though. And sadly, in the shadowed regions, I cannot fix that. So that sucks, but I don't think people care that much. Okay, let me get the wooden shield. Okay, nice. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that looks real bad. Yeah, I gotta tamp down on that. Okay, well, I'll keep tweaking that. Because I gotta mess with this spec map as well. Okay, hey. Yeah, like this, the actual ceiling, or not ceiling, roof texture there. But I think it's overall looking really quite good. I like the visibility. The indirect lighting, I think, is actually pretty fantastic here. Like, I don't know, I'm happy with, like, the saturation. I'm finally, like, I'm feeling pretty decent. I just got to fix the little like specular issues here and there, and try to like, you know, I can't let the specular run wild yet because I just don't have the shader fix for like in the shadowed regions. But I'm still gonna look into that. There's also the mystery of this model here. For some reason, there's this darkness happening here, where obviously there's this point light, right? For the torch, and I haven't really been able to figure out because I thought it was a mesh shading issue, but I've taken it into Blender and tried modifying, but it just does not work very well. Ooh, yeah, you can see the bad specular, bad. But you can see the parallax occlusion mapping on the floor here, very nice. The other thing that I will be doing, as you can see in the distance here, the Darkroot Garden that I sort of manufactured from the real Darkroot Garden. I don't think it looks that good. I've gotten a lot better at placing trees and foliage in general from Dark Souls 2. And so I'm just way better. Oh, I just realized one of these boards has, I think, a misaligned texture. Oops. But yeah, I've gotten so much better at placing trees that the distant Darkroot Garden doesn't look that good. So let's see if we can just run to the boss. Can you tell I've played this game for like 500 bajillion hours? It's kind of crazy. God, I love this cobblestone texture though. I'm so happy with how the height map turned out. Specular issues aside, I actually think the visuals in Undead Burg right now look fucking fantastic. I don't say that lightly. And distant tree issues, but... Alright. See, and I love the light coming through those boards. You can see the sky. Oh, it's so cool. Oh my god. God bless the instant fog wall entry. You love to see it. Okay, I got an email. Is it spam? Probably. Oh, yeah, I think the other thing I didn't modify was the lighting ID for the distant Darkroot, because you can see it's brighter than the mountain-like texture that I'm using for Undead Burg. And then you'll see in the distance here, I still have Z fighting, but I believe I can fix that now. I'm good enough that I should be able to fix that. Also, you'll see the fog on the distant landscape does not match with the trees. The trees are lacking that fog. Also, the way that I placed the trees was not very good. TBH. Okay. We're getting them. But I should be able to fix the Z fighting. That shouldn't be too difficult. And then those lumps in the distance look better than they used to, but I believe I could smooth them out even more. Also, that doesn't have the correct fog setting. And then I think the big mountain is just a little bit too, I don't know. I feel like it's standing out just a little bit too much. I don't know. I might, if I add it to the depth of field setting, I think that could fix it, because that's like, it feels like it's too in focus. And other things are out of focus, but that feels... Also, there's like this weird flickering that's happening on it, and I can't tell if that's like ambient occlusion. Is it trying to render that? There's something right here that I need to take a look at. Okay, let's go face off against this jabroni. I might need to pull down the saturation just a tad. I don't know. It's seeming maybe just a tad too vibrant. Just a little bit. Once again, I don't even need my HUD. Okay, it turns out I did need my HUD really badly. Okay, I'm gonna disrespectful drink right in front of you. I think this looks really good though, right? Am I crazy? even gotten a bleed yet? Huh. Hey, there's a bleed. It'd be funny to get him to drop off or jump off, but probably not. This music is so good. Oh, it's so on, dude. Oh, okay, he tagged me. Ooh, okay. I didn't quite nail that one. Okay, let me just. I also need to fix the flash texture. That's on my list. It's upscaled, but it's not very good looking. So that's on the list. Don't worry about it. Oh, he tagged me again. Like, this is a battle for the ages. Ooh. Okay. You love to see it. You love to see it, big dog. I don't know who I'm calling big dog at that point. Me, presumably? I don't know. Yeah, that's the other thing I'm doing is fixing the mesh shading issues that I caused. I think this looks really good though, like in terms of texture quality. Also, while we're here, you'll notice that like moire pattern on the stairs, and that's due to the way that shadows work in this game. And I'd like to fix that. It's been on my list forever, and I've never been able to fully fix it. So I'd like to somehow figure out how to make it not very apparent or visible. Yeah, there's more specular I gotta fix. Don't look at that. Also, those are my light shafts that I manually placed. And I think you can still see them on the outside. Unless I fixed that. I thought I fixed it to where they only displayed on the inside. But let's go say hi to Solaire. What's up, big dog? Yeah, those trees are not abiding by the same fog setting. Well, I guess they kind of are, but it depends on the angle. Have to look at that. Or yeah, that one's different from that one, which I thought was something I already fixed, but... Ooh, yeah, it doesn't look good when you look down. Oh, there's something I gotta fix. It's really annoying. You literally have to like rotate the camera 100 different times, different ways. Yeah, that looks bad too. Ooh, okay. Well, interesting. Interesting. What's up, Slayer? How's it going? Give me your soapstone. I mean, I didn't even read the question, but you're my goddamn homie. His eyes look kind of red, which is interesting. What do my eyes look? I'm hollow. Okay, let me go up to this. That checks out. That checks out. But anyway, yeah, see, that's the interesting thing about how specular works in this game, is so we have the light source being obviously the sky over here, and like here's the sun, right? And there's no, it's odd, like there's no specular on this cobble surface, which there obviously should be. Well, there is here. It's very like angle dependent. Like it should still be down here, but there's something with the way that it works where it just does not work. Ooh, also, fun fact, these stairs here, it's gonna sound really stupid, but basically I noticed something between Prepare to Die Edition and Remastered. These stairs were dark in Prepare to Die Edition, and then they were bright in Remastered. And for the longest time, I was like, well, that's weird. Why would they do that? Well, it turns out it's pretty obvious. Basically, the stairs were too dark in Prepare to Die Edition versus everything that was around them. And so I now understand why Q-Lock brightened it up. And so I did it myself, and it now blends in better. But just a side note where I was like, oh, okay, I get why QLock did that. That actually makes a lot of sense. I got to fix my mesh shading around some of these. But like conceptually, I like what I'm looking at here. And I know that sounds dumb to say as like a modder, but it's been really hard for me to get Dark Souls Remastered to look the way that I want. It's just kind of understanding how it functions, and I've been modding it for so long that you tend to forget what looks good, what looks bad to me or other people. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but I feel like I kind of got the spark back. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this exceptionally long video. If you've made it to the end, liking the video helps a lot. Sharing it, commenting, good stuff, you know. Need to be better about mentioning that. I do have a Patreon, which helps me massively. It's the only reason why I'm able to mod full-time. Straight up, like that's the only reason. So if you would like to support that and get ad-free versions of these videos, which it being over an hour long, there's going to be a lot of ads, as far as I know. And yeah, you get ad-free and you get downloads for my mods, Google Drive links, so they're faster. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video, which will presumably also be Dark Souls Remastered, because I want to get a version out there with some fixes. But if you have like immediate fixes that you know that it needs, because I admit I could go through the bug listing, but the problem with going through the bug listing on Nexus mods is that some of them could be out of date, and then it's my own fault because I haven't checked them in a while, and so therefore I'm running down bugs that no longer exist because they were, 6 months ago or something I had already fixed at some point. So it can be hard for me to get stuck in that, and then so my normal method is just to play through the game and fix as I go things I notice, and then you just keep playing through the game over and 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 over again. That's my method, which I think is probably really inefficient, and it doesn't lead to certain areas being done on time or in a good manner, but it's kind of just the method I've always done. And I think over the long term it works well because I just keep playing the game and I keep finding things and I keep fixing. So over the long term I think it works out well. And I'm proud of what I've done with Dark Souls Re-Remastered, but I can see why it would be frustrating for some people. But anyway, I've yapped for an hour. So hopefully you enjoy that. And it can be your Dark Souls modding ASMR video for Friday? Friday, yes, it is Friday, for I know what day of the week it is. And what day of the month. I believe it's the 16th. So thank you for watching, and anyway, I'll see you on the next one.